Hi, I'm Mark Taylor and welcome to the High Point Public Library Teaching Garden. Today we're going to talk about planning for your garden for the next coming season. And this year at the Teaching Garden, we're actually going to try some early spring vegetables as opposed to late season spring vegetables. So we're going to plant peas in our bed this year. Two things that we have to remember: take a little bit of time to plan out your garden in advance, because you don't want to have any surprises when it comes time to actually seeding the garden or putting those plants in the garden. So take our bed here. It's 6 by 10. We know that we can put 2 rows of peas in as seeds, but we have to allow for 16 inches between the 2 rows. We're also, because we don't want our vegetables hanging out over the sides of the bed, we need to allow for 6 inches in on each side. So measuring that out first before we actually put the seeds in is important. Also, because we know as the season progresses and moves into late spring and early summer, we want those annuals planted as well. So we have to imagine how much space we need to allot to keep for those marigolds or any other kinds of annual flowers that you might wish to put in your garden. We like the marigolds simply because they're colorful and they attract a lot of colorful animals, insects, bees, butterflies. So here we have our 10 by 6 bed. We're going to run the pea seeds through in double rows from one end to the other, allowing for space at the ends, not just for the marigolds, but because, as I said, we're planning this out for the whole season. So we know after the peas are done in late spring, which would be typically late April, early May, we're going to have something else to put in there. So we need to decide what that is and how much space it will need. In our case, it's going to be lettuce. We're going to put in some leaf lettuce on one end and head lettuce on the other end. Leaf lettuce does not need a lot of space between them, but head lettuce does. Also, we need to remember those flowers are still in our bed. We have to leave the space for those to go in as well. Once the peas have matured and are starting to die off, the lettuce will have more room to grow on its own. So it's a question of balance and timing. If you wait too long for one to go in, the other one might suffer. If you wait to go too early, it may be too cold and you might have the opposite effect on having nothing growing. Once the second season has ended, and lettuce, you know exactly when it's over because it tends to bolt upright. Take those lettuce plants out, clear your bed around where they were, and plant your last crop for the summer. In this case for us, it's going to be tomatoes, and we're putting tomatoes in this bed along with a trellis system for them. Again, just as we did with the beans, we need to remember how much spacing we need between each of those tomato plants. Tomato plants do not like to be crowded. It tends to create more problems with insects and with disease. So allowing as much space between the plants as possible is a necessary thing to remember. And if you do this all back in this time of the year in February, it will give you lots less headaches come May and June when you plant those plants. Our presentation here is a little elaborate just to be more entertaining. It does not have to be this way. All you need is a piece of paper, pencil, and a good idea of how big of a garden bed or garden area you actually have. If you need to go out to your bed and measure it, do so. Then you just have to do a little bit of simple mathematics. Do you need 6 inches away from the beds? Do you need 8 inches away from the sides of the walls? Do you need to have more space between in the center, i.e. those tomato plants. They like to be spaced out at least 2.5 feet apart. Again, it doesn't have to be difficult, and it will save you a world of trouble later on if you do some simple planning. Now, to conclude with this presentation, we're going to take a little moment to talk about crop rotation. Now, crop rotation is more known by farmers than by gardeners, but it's the same thing. Every year, you do not wish to put in the same vegetable in your bed. By doing so, you are taking away from the nutrients and minerals that are in that soil. And the more you use the same vegetable in that bed or ground, the less they're going to produce for you. So it's a really good idea to change your vegetables up and not put the same ones in. Now, again, it takes a little bit of time, but if you can learn a little bit about the families that these vegetables belong to, you won't make the mistake of putting the same vegetable from that family into the bed that you just used for, i.e. broccoli, and then you turn around and put cauliflower in. They're from the same family. You don't want to do that. You want to change it up. You want to also make sure that when you're changing up your vegetables, that they are the ones you want to have in that particular bed. Some vegetables do not like being next to other vegetables. They don't play nice, as they say. So again, take the time to think about your vegetables, where you want to plant them, when you want to plant them, and were they the same ones you used last year, or do you want to try up something new? I hope this has helped you for your planning sessions for this coming growing season. Thank you.
Happy gardening.